Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. Now, it's Friday Fun Day, so I thought I would put together this super simple pumpkin pot holder and hot pad and decoration that can also be a little pillow if you want it to be. It's a super simple project and it's a lot of fun, and they stitch up really fast. Each pumpkin measures about 7.5 inches wide and about 8.5 inches tall. Now, you can make it as a single layer. You can do a double layer and stitch them together. And that's the fun of this, is even if you don't want a hot pad, you can make this into a nice, cute little stuffed pillow as a decoration. All right, you can make it out of cotton yarn. I used acrylic because I'm only using this as a decoration. If you're going to use these as real actual hot pads that you're going to put a hot pot or pull something out of the oven that's hot, please use a cotton or a cotton blend that won't melt, because remember, acrylic melts and can burn your hands. And I want to keep you safe during the happy holidays. I love fall, and pumpkins to me are one of the best signs of fall. And so this is our simple pumpkin hot pad, pot holder, and possibly a little pillow. I may have to make some of those. I think you'll really enjoy this. It's a very simple pattern. We, increase a little, we stitch the body, we decrease a little, put a trim on it, and this is a super simple stem and leaf and vine curl that we stitch all up in one piece and attach it in one piece, so you have very little mess. Just a little spot of green on the back. All right, and then we add a little loop so you can hang it up. And they're wonderful to hang up just as decorations around, or lay them out on a table. You know, just have some fun with it, because, I mean, fall, we're ready for fall, aren't we? I know I am. Okay, now you can find the complete pattern with pictures, instructions for making it both ways, single, double, and again, you can find that on my blog, and I'll put that link down in the notes underneath this video. All right, so what do we need to make our simple pumpkin hot pad or pot holder? So what you need, of course, is yarn. And the type of yarn is up to you. Now, we're using a medium weight number 4 yarn, and I used acrylic. I used rust colored acrylic and a sage green for this pumpkin. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be using this bright orange, and I will still use the sage green for the leaf and the stem and the vine of our pumpkin. Okay, now here's the thing. If you're going to use this to actually use it as a hot pad, in other words, put something hot out of the oven on it or grab something hot, I recommend you use a cotton or a cotton blend, okay? Because that's going to keep it from melting. Acrylic melts terribly in the heat, and it can burn your hand, and it can also burn the surface, okay? Now, I'm using mine as decorations, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and use the acrylic. The other thing is, this one is just one thickness. I also recommend that if you're going to do it with cotton as an actual hot pad or even a decoration, it might look better if you do the 2 thicknesses. And I'll explain all of that as we go along. And it's really just basically making 2 of our shapes, putting them together, and then using the trim to stitch them together. And then, of course, this portion, the leaf and the stem and the vine curl, are all the same, whether you do 1 thicknesses or 2. So there's some options there for you. You can use any yarn that you want to. Just keep in mind, acrylics can melt and burn your hands and surfaces. Okay? But again, I'm doing mine as decorations, and so I'm going to go ahead and just use the acrylic yarn I have on hand. Okay, we're going to stitch it up with an H-hook, which is a 5mm. And then you need your needle and a pair of scissors. We're going to be starting at the bottom of our pot holder, and then we'll increase out a little bit. We'll do some rows, and then we'll decrease in order to form that shape. All right, so we're going to start with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 19 chains. And remember, you want your beginning chain to be just a little bit loose. We don't want the bottom of our hot pad to be all puckered up. All right, so 19 chains. So I have stitched 19 chains just a little bit loose. And what we're going to do is stitch a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this chain 3 here that we skipped, that will count as our first double crochet. All right. And now we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the chains, working all the way across our row. One double crochet in each. We started in the 4th chain from the hook and stitched 1 double crochet in each. Now this chain 3 counts as our first, and so we have 17 double crochets. We're going to chain 3 and turn our work. Now we want to increase, so we're going to stitch our first double crochet in that first double crochet stitch. All right, and then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. Our next stitch, we're going to front post double crochet. So instead of stitching up here, we're going around the post of the stitch. And now we're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches. All right, so now we're going to front post double crochet in the next stitch. And then 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then again, we'll front post in the next stitch. And then 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then 1 more front post double crochet in the next stitch. And that leaves us with 2 stitches. So we're going to double crochet in that next stitch. And then in that last stitch, which was our beginning chain 3, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And then we'll go ahead and chain 3. And let's take a quick look at it. So we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm showing it kind of an angle so you can see those. 4 front posts, and then we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 regular double crochets. And we do those front posts because by doing front and back posts, it gives it that illusion of the indentations of a pumpkin. All right, and so that's the way that it should look after row 2. Let's do row 3. So we've chained 3, we're going to turn our work, and again we want to increase, so we're going to double crochet in that first double crochet stitch. Now we're going to double crochet in the next 2, and that brings us to where we put that front post on that previous row. But because we're on the back side of our work, we're going to be doing a back post double crochet around that front post from the previous row. All right, then we'll double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, whoops, string got a little splitty there, or yarn I should say. There we go. Because we want 3 double crochets. Then we'll back post around that front post from the previous row. And then 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Alrighty, so now we're going to back post around that front post again. And 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more back post around the front post of the previous row. And then we've got 3 double crochets, so we're going to stitch 1 in the next 2, and then in that last stitch we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. All right, and chain 3. Now we need to take a look at this. This is how it looks on the back, and then when we turn it over, you can see where we did those back posts in the front post of our stitches. Again, it gives us those illusions of our indentations of a pumpkin, and then we're increasing on the sides. Alrighty, we're ready for row 4. We're going to again increase, so we're double crocheting in that first double crochet, and then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And so now we're on the front of our work, and we're going to be stitching a front post in the back post of the previous row. And then we'll stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to repeat this across. And again, if you're using a different fiber, whether you're using wool or cotton blend, it's all stitched up exactly the same, because you want to make sure you're using a medium weight number 4 yarn. All right, so my last front post, double crochet, then we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then in that last stitch, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And chain 3. All right, now at this point, you're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 regular double crochets, but you're still going to have 4 front post double crochets. All right, so we chained 3. We're going to turn our work, and now we're not going to be doing any more increases, so we're going to stitch in the next double crochet because we don't want to increase. We want to keep this at 5 double crochets. All right, so our chain 3 counts as 1, and then we stitched 4 more. Now we're going to stitch our back post in that front post, and then we'll repeat the center portion of it the same until we reach the end of our row. So we'll stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now we'll stitch a back post in the front post from the previous row. And then we'll stitch those 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3. Then we'll stitch our back post in the front post, and then 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And another back post in the front post. 1 double crochet in the next 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then 1 more front post or back post double crochet in the front post double crochet, and that leaves us with these 5 stitches, and we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in the last 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because we're not increasing anymore. And go ahead and chain 3. All right, then we'll turn our work, and now we're going to repeat this on the front side, only instead of stitching back post, we're stitching front post. So we're not increasing, so we'll go right to that next stitch and stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4, and again our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So we have 5 double crochets, front post, double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right, and so we're just going to repeat this across, working in our front post, and then 1 double crochet in the last 5. So I have repeated this across, 3 and 1 front post, and that brings us to those last 5. And so we're going to again just stitch 1 double crochet in each of those last 5 on our row. And chain 3. All right, and so that's what it looks like after row 6. And now what we're going to do to form the body of our pumpkin is we're going to continue to repeat row 5 and row 6 for 4 more rows, and alternating those 2 rows. So we'll do another row with front post, another row with back post, and then another row with front post, and another row with back post. All right, so we're repeating row 5 and row 6 for 4 more rows, alternating every other row. I have repeated 5 and 6, 5 and 6 for 4 rows, alternating every other row, and that brings us up to row 10. All right, so now these next few rows, we're going to be doing decrease stitches or stitching 2 double crochets together. And so after row 10, we're only going to chain 1 instead of chaining 3. All right, we'll turn our work. We're going to stitch the first 2 stitches together. So yarn over, go in the first stitch and pull up a loop. Then we're going to go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through those 3 loops, yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. So we've decreased by 1. Okay, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then we'll stitch our back post stitch in the previous front post, and then we'll just repeat across what we've been doing with our 3 double crochets and back post stitches until we reach that last set of 5 double crochets, and then we'll decrease on the last 2 stitches. I have repeated that across. That brings me to those last 5 stitches. So I'm going to stitch a double crochet in the next 3. And then I'm going to stitch these last 2 stitches together in a double crochet decrease. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, then we'll go in that last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 3, yarn over, and go through the last 2 and chain 1. All right, let's turn it over. And now we're going to repeat what we did, and that will cause us to have 1 less stitch on the sides again. All right, so we'll stitch the first 2 together, and this time we only have 2 stitches to double crochet in. All right, and see how that's curving around in order to form the top of our pumpkin. All right, so we're on the front side now, so we're doing front post stitches in our front post double crochet stitches, and then again we'll repeat across with those 3 double crochets in our front post stitches until we reach those last 4 stitches. And so again, I have repeated that across 3 double crochets front post to our last 4 stitches. And so we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to double crochet decrease, or stitching the last 2 together. And chain 1. All right, and so let's take a look at this. So now we have 3 at the beginning and end, and then our front post. So we're back to having 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 double crochets and 4 of our front post stitches. So again, we chained 1. We're going to turn our work, and we're going to repeat this for 2 more rows. All right, so we're going to stitch the first 2 together in a double crochet decrease. That leaves 1 double crochet, so we'll double crochet. Then we'll stitch a back post in the previous front post double crochet. And then we'll repeat across as we've been doing with our 3 double crochets. And back post double crochets. And we'll repeat this across until we reach those last few stitches. And so again, I've repeated that across, and that leaves us with 3 stitches at the end. We're going to double crochet in the next and stitch together those last 2 double crochet stitches, chain 1, turn, and 1 more row of decrease stitches. All right, so we'll stitch those first 2 stitches together as we've been doing. And that brings us to our first front post. And so we'll front post, double crochet around that stitch, and then repeat across the 3 double crochets front post all the way across again until we reach those last stitches. So I have completed row 14, and you can see how it curves out and then back in to form our shape of our pumpkin. Now, if you're just going to do 1 thickness, then you can go ahead and start your trim around, and I'll show you that in just a second. But I'm making mine 2 thicknesses, and so I made 2 pieces so that I can put them together. So you want to take your 2 pumpkin pieces and put them together with the right sides facing out. That's your sides with your ridges facing out. Make sure they're all lined up. And leave your yarn attached. Now weave in your ends on the first piece and then your tail on this piece. But leave this attached because we're going to go all the way around our pumpkin with evenly stitching single crochets. All right, so we'll just go right in these first stitches. And it can be a little bit tricky on these edges where we don't have stitches. And the key to getting it nice and neat is to go in the stitches, not the holes, if at all possible, trying to keep everything even. And just evenly single crochet around. Now when you get to the bottom, you'll have stitches to use, and of course across the top, but down the sides you won't. And like I said, it's easiest to try to go in the stitches, on the sides of the stitches, and not the holes, if at all possible. and there is not a set number of stitches that you need. All right, and so you want to just look at it, making sure that your stitches are close but not puckered and not too far apart where it leaves gaping holes. All right, and if you want to, you can count how many you do on this side and do that same amount on this side. That is totally up to you. So we're going to evenly single crochet down the side, cross the bottom, back up the other side, and then across the top of our pumpkin and meet back over here. All right? Making a nice thick hot pad. Now, if you're only making one thickness, like the other one that I did, you do this exactly the same. The only difference is you're not putting two pieces together. You're just going around your one thickness so that we have a nice trim on our pumpkin. So I have evenly single crocheted all the way around. Haven't met up just yet, but I wanted you to see two thicknesses, or you can do the one. And here's a little secret I bet you don't think about, or maybe didn't think about, but you've got two sides here. This would make an awesome little pumpkin pillow. That would be cute sitting around, wouldn't it? I may have to do some of those. Just leave an opening and stuff it and do it exactly the same, and you've got a little pumpkin pillow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up my stitching here. There we go. And when we get around here to the side, whoops, where we started, we want to go right in that first single crochet and join with a slip stitch. All right, so now I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm going to go ahead and pull this to the back of my pumpkin. Although with this particular pattern, you really don't have a front or a back. It looks cute on both sides. But that way I can go ahead and weave in my end. And if you feel like it needs a little shaping, you can always block it, you know, to round out those corners a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to weave this end in, and I'm going to show you how to make the leaf, the stem, and that vine curl. I've got my green sage yarn here, and what we're going to do is we're going to make the leaf, the stem, and that little curl all in one piece. It makes it easier to attach. All right, so I'm going to make my slip knot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, so now we're going to go to the second chain and stitch a slip stitch. Then we'll go to the next chain and stitch a single crochet. Now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That leaves 2 stitches, and so we'll stitch a single crochet in the next and slip stitch in that last stitch. All right, so now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to stitch down this side here, which we call the opposite or other side of the chain. All right, so we'll stitch a slip stitch. Then in the next stitch, we'll stitch a single crochet. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, some more yarn out here, and 4. Then we'll stitch a single crochet in this next stitch, and then in this last stitch, which is really tiny and tight, there we go, we'll stitch a slip stitch. And then we'll just join to the slip stitch on the other side. There we go. So there's our leaf. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a stem. All right, so we'll just chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we'll turn and we'll single crochet in that second chain, and then 1 in each of those chains, working right back down to that stem. All right, now we're going to join to that stitch right on that leaf with a slip stitch. So now we've created a stem and a leaf. So the next thing we're going to do is form the curl. All right, so we're going to chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, so now we're going to turn, and in the second chain from the hook, we're going to stitch a single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. And we're going to do this in each of those chains. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. And by now you're already seeing that it's starting to curl. And we'll stitch this in each of those chains, working back down to where we have the leaf and the stem. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in each of those chains. So I stitched that up, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet all the way back down, and we're going to join right in the top of that leaf with a slip stitch, and we're going to tie off, but we're going to leave a little bit of tail of yarn. That way we can use this to attach to our pumpkin. All right, now before we do that, we want to weave in this end in our leaf. And we'll just go behind here and just weave this in. We don't want that coming out. All right, so we want to put this in the center of the top of our pumpkin. And so I put that tail of yarn on my needle. We want to try to get to the center, and I want to sew it through here so it goes through both thicknesses, because that way it'll stay attached better. And so we're going to go right to the center in these center stitches. And I'm just going to come back up through here. Oops, don't come off of there. And I want to do this a couple of times because I want this to be attached securely. And I don't want to sew the leaf down. I don't want to sew the curl down. I want them to kind of hang naturally, however it wants, basically, you know, because I want it to look natural, like a natural pumpkin. And we'll go through that a couple of times. And yes, you'll have that little spot back here where we went through a couple of times, but that's very small. I want to make sure that's all weaved in nice and securely. Alrighty, so now we have our leaf and our stem and our vine curl from our pumpkin, but how are we going to hang it up, right? And so you don't have to add this. This is just a little thing I like to do. I'm going to have a little bit of strand of yarn here, and I'm just going to chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because I like to be able to hang them up, whether I'm using them for a decoration or a real hot pad. I just like to be able to hang them up and find them. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to go right here. There we go. We're going to go right up here behind And we're going to put one strand through. It's okay if it comes through like that. I just want to, there we go. And then we'll come across here, and I'm going through both those loops because we want it to be able to hold. All right, I want to even that up. There we go. And I'm going to pull it because I want to make a knot, and then we'll pull it back up. All right, I'm just trying to make sure it's even. And I'm going to make a knot back here. And we want to push that knot up as far as we can to where those chains end. And I'm going to make a second knot because I don't want this to come undone. I know in crochet we're not supposed to make knots, but sometimes you just have to for what you're doing, okay? Because I do not want this to come undone. Got us a nice double knot there. We'll just cut that off, and then we'll take that and pull it forward. And it kind of hides the green in the back where we added that. And then we have a nice loop for hanging up our pumpkin pot holder. Now, if you do not like your leaf and everything sort of randomly, you can tack that down or tack this down. I just like how it looks a little bit like a real pumpkin with a real vine, where it's not always the same. So whether you're making a single layer or a double layer, you get a really cute pumpkin hot pad that's super simple to make. And remember, you can always make a double one into a little pumpkin pillow. Well, I really love how they turned out. I love the ease of how to put the vine and the leaf and the stem on in one piece. And again, the little loop so we can hang it up for a nice decoration. That's our simple pumpkin hot pad and pot holder.